This is CBS.
Game for the first time since May 16th. Todd Zeal's two-run shot in the sixth was the difference as St. Louis sent Tom Candiotti and the Dodgers down to defeat 3-1. CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, it's Game 3 of a four-game series between the Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals have won 4 of their last 5. They're within 3.5 of first-place Pittsburgh in the National League East. While the Dodgers occupy the cellar in the West, 14 games back of Cincinnati. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Los Angeles. I'm Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, and it's great to have you with us. The St. Louis Cardinals in contention in the National League East despite a young pitching staff that has been outstanding to this point.
4 of their 5 pitchers very young. The All-Star game pitcher is Bob Tewksbury, and get this, their pitching has been so good that they've given up 25 runs over their last 16 games. Now, that is the fewest number of runs over any 16-game span in this century given up by Cardinal pitching staffs, and that is truly remarkable.
Well, they have been a pleasant surprise. The Dodgers have been a big disappointment. Tim, there are a lot of disappointing teams in Major League Baseball this year, but the Dodgers have to be at the top of that list.
With the big payroll, of course. They're in last place, 14 games behind the Cincinnati Reds, and the Dodgers haven't finished in last place since 1905 in the National League. I think in large part this year due to Eric Davis and Darryl Strawberry missing over 80 games.
Last place a possibility this year if they don't get things turned around in a hurry. The pitching matchup this afternoon for the Dodgers, Oral Hershiser, for the Cardinals, Mark Clark. We'll have the first pitch of the ball game from Dodger Stadium in just a moment.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Oldsmobile, the power of intelligent engineering. Budweiser, the king of beers with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. And by Subway, sandwiches and salads for today's healthy lifestyles.
And the home plate area as well. Oral Hershiser is still out in the Dodger bullpen, warming up. He'll make the start today for Los Angeles, opposed by right-hander Mark Clark.
Oral Hershiser is not all the way back yet. He has not pitched a complete game in his last 50 starts. But last night, we had a chance to talk with Oral and ask him just how much has he come back from that devastating shoulder injury.
Reconstruction of my shoulder was an amazing process that Dr. Joe put me back together, but what I've really noticed that last year when the surgery went so well and I came back, if somebody said that's all you're going to have, I would have taken it. But now this year, spring training was even better, and now here comes the All-Star break, and I'm feeling even better. So I really haven't reached a plateau yet, and my strength and my abilities are getting better and better.
That injury and its operation, usually referred to as the Tommy John operation, that was performed on Tommy back in 1974. It took him 2 years to come back, and Hershiser only about 8 months to come back. But he is really a remarkable story, and with that bulldog tenacity, was sort of course, his nickname Bulldog, appropriate.
We saw Oral about to depart the bullpen and make his way into the dugout. The ground crew is out at home plate and the pitcher's mound, removing the tarps, and Tommy Lasorda is discussing the situation with the umpiring crew, the lineup cards being exchanged at home plate. It has been an interesting week from a weather standpoint here in Southern California. There was a tropical storm off the coast that made it a very muggy and warm week here in Los Angeles. We've had rain off and on this morning. It is again very humid, and there was an earthquake, we are told, about 60 miles east of here about 45 minutes ago that registered 5.1 on the Richter scale. It happened at 11:17 local time here in Los Angeles, and we here in the broadcast booth felt just a brief tremor, but you have experienced this before, and the antenna immediately went up from your experience at the World Series. And
big earthquake, of course, struck the Bay Area. All of our power went out. Al Michaels was right next to me on the floor.
As they continue to get ready for today's game, we'll take a break, and we'll be back with the first pitch of today's game in just a moment. Homestand for Los Angeles. The ground crew continues to prepare the field, and a sparse crowd is on hand here at the moment. They're not accustomed to seeing rain in this part of the country.
Even in good weather. Arrive late, leave early. Of course, that has been the habits of the fans here, which are marvelous fans here in the Los Angeles area. However, this year, because of the riots in early May, the Dodgers are down 254,000 in attendance, and that in itself is very, very strange. And
you would think that the drop-off in the performance level of the Dodgers would have something to do with the diminished number of folks coming through the gates. An interesting trade made last night in Major League Baseball. If you didn't see this morning's paper, perhaps you missed it. Last night, the Pittsburgh Pirates traded third baseman Steve Buechele to the Chicago Cubs in exchange for left-handed pitcher Danny Jackson. Your thoughts, Tim?
Well, I think one of the stranger things about that move is that the Pittsburgh Pirates got rid of John Smiley, a left-handed pitcher, 20-game winner last year in spring training. He went to the Minnesota Twins, where he is thriving. Danny Jackson has had arm problems. Steve Buechele is a quality third baseman. He was batting .249 at the time with 8 home runs and 35 RBIs. I think Buechele, right now, I think Buechele stands to help the Cubs more than Jackson can help the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And the Dodgers take the field, led onto the field by Darryl Strawberry. And Orel Hershiser makes his way to the mound. And Tom Lasorda with the opportunity yet again to make another friend before the ball game begins. We assume there are no spying devices anywhere in that glove, but Tom should be careful. Let's check the St. Louis lineup that will go up against Tom Lasorda's Chargers this afternoon. Milt Thompson leads off in left field. Ozzie Smith, the shortstop. Ray Langford batting third in center field. The cleanup hitter is first baseman Andres Galarraga. Batting fifth, the third baseman Todd Zeile. Brian Jordan is the right fielder batting sixth. Tom Pagnozzi does the catching. He's batting seventh. Tim Jones at second base bats eighth, and batting ninth, the pitcher Mark Clark.
We mentioned that Orel Hershiser has had no complete games, covering a 1.5-year period in his last 50 starts. However, he has gone at least 5 innings in all 17 starts this year. So Orel Hershiser, 7-6 with a 3.34 earned run average. And he will be backed up by this defense. Derek Davis is in left field. Tom Goodwin in there for the ailing Brett Butler. Butler with problems to his right shoulder, diving to make a catch several weeks ago. Darryl Strawberry back in the lineup. He's in right field. Dave Hansen at third base. Jose Offerman at shortstop. Lenny Harris will be the second baseman. A fine young rookie hitter, Eric Karros, is at first base. And Mike Scioscia behind the plate. Mike has caught more games than any other Dodger. And, of course, Hershiser on the mound.
And defense, a big difference between these two teams. The Cardinals first in the league in fielding. The Dodgers are last. Last night, a rough night for Darryl Strawberry. He went 0 for 4 in the loss to the Cardinals. He struck out all 4 times, and he heard some loud boos here. Darryl said it was the loudest that he has been booed since he came to Los Angeles a year and a half ago. Joe Torre, he says it seems like nobody wants to win the National League East, so we might as well grab it. And his team is certainly in position to do just that. Only 3.5 games behind Pittsburgh. This is game 10 of a West Coast road trip for Torre and the Cardinals. And St. Louis is 6-3 out west, following their 3-1 win over Los Angeles last night. The start of the game delayed about 7 minutes as they prepared the field. And here's Milt Thompson to get us underway. Just close friends and family in attendance at the moment. Milt Thompson at .308 with 4 homers and 12 runs batted in. He hit a home run last night off Tom Candiotti into the bullpen in right field. Tries to bunt his way on. And it's a strike, says home plate umpire Bruce Fremming.
Kind of the long and the short of it. Milt Thompson with a home run in last night's game, and then he tries to bunt his first time up today.
Hershiser Nearly called a strike by Bruce Fremming. He committed the first balk of the day. Turned to call it a strike and then thought better of it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hit hard into right field. A base hit for Milt Thompson. We have introduced you to home plate umpire Bruce Fremming. The rest of the umpiring crew: Ed Montague at first base, Tom Hallion, who'll work the All-Star game, is calling the plays at second, and Mike Winters is at third. Now Ozzie Smith. Speaking of the All-Star game, he was voted the starting National League All-Star shortstop for a record 10th straight year. As you saw his numbers, they are worthy of a trip to San Diego. A .297 average.
Cardinals with 4 representatives on the National League All-Star team: Tom Pagnozzi, Ozzie Smith, Lee Smith, and Bob Tewksbury.
Thompson has stolen 12 bases, and Smith looks at a strike, 1-1.
One thing that helps Hershiser in situations like this, he gets a lot of ground balls. About 2 out of every 3 balls that are made contact by the hitter are on the ground. Good time to hit and run right here, and Joe Torre likes to do that.
Thompson not running with that pitch. It's spilled into the third base seats. 1-2 on Ozzie Smith. Ozzie missed a couple of weeks with the chicken pox. Well, he's healthy now and ready to make his 12th appearance in the All-Star game and his 10th consecutive start.
Wasn't it Roy Campanella who said you got to have a lot of little boy in you to play this game? That doesn't mean you have to come down with little boys' maladies, though, does it?
Indeed, it doesn't. And Ozzie's fared well since returning to action on July 1st. He's hit .342. Speed pitch just outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Smith at the plate with Langford on deck. Thompson at first with nobody out in the top of the first. No score. Bucky Dent through the signs for Thompson and Smith. Quick throw to first, and Thompson is back safely. Milt's only been thrown out 4 times trying to steal. Hershiser trying to strike out Ozzie Smith for the first time ever. Thompson running. The pitch is a ball. The throw on Hopper not in time. And Thompson has stolen his 13th base of the year.
Mill with an excellent jump off Orel Hershiser, and he's into second base easily. Notice how he goes straight in, stand-up slide. See the hook slide more and more in baseball disappearing, and when you're going in to steal second base, there's really no sense in trying to hook away from the tag.
Only the Montreal Expos have stolen more bases than the St. Louis Cardinals this year. The Redbirds now with 113. 3-2 pitch, fouled off his foot.
What is a stand-up slide? Well, it's a slide where your momentum into the bag allows you to stand up. What allows you to stop allows you to stand up. The batting instructor of the Dodgers, looking on with Tommy Lasorda. Dodgers losing last night 3-1 to the Cardinals after beating St. Louis 2-1 on Thursday night.
3-2 pitch, base hit, right center field. Thompson is being waved around, and he will score, and the Cardinals lead 1-0. Ozzie Smith with his 20th run batted in of the year.
16, center fielder Ray Langford.
So 2 hits to start the ball game for St. Louis. Smith at first, still nobody out. Here's Ray Langford. Langford runs well. Hansen is in on the grass at third. The breaking ball is in for a strike.
Langford moved into the 3 spot in the batting order by Joe Torre. He strikes out a little bit too much to lead off. He has struck out 76 times this year. That's the most by any player in the National League. More ideal in the 3-hole than he is leading off a ball game.
He strikes out about once every 5 times up. Hershiser surrendered a single to Thompson to start the game. Thompson stole second and scored on a base hit by Ozzie Smith. There was 19 stolen bases, and he's only been thrown out 4 times. Ozzie Smith, 15 consecutive years of 20-plus steals, which would tie Lou Brock for the second longest such streak in Major League history. Only Hannes Wagner had a longer streak, 18 consecutive years of 20 steals or more from 1898 through 1915.
Not bad for the oldest shortstop in baseball. Ozzie, 37 years old. And one of the big reasons that the Cardinals are negotiating in halting fashion as far as giving Ozzie a multi-year contract.
Double play ball to second. Langford slipped coming out of the batter's box, so it's an easy 4-6-3 twin killer. Offerman turned it, taking the throw from Harris, and Karros finished it off.
Ball was not hit very sharply to second base, but watch how long Ozzie Smith stands up, and the throw by Offerman gets him down. That throw, when Offerman, the shortstop, drops down, he wants the base runner to get down. So it prevents him from taking out of there, but Ozzie Smith staying up an awful long time going into second base.
So 2 outs and the base is now empty in the first. It's 1-0 St. Louis, and Andres Galarraga, the cleanup hitter, takes strike 1. Joe Torre sees signs of Galarraga coming on lately. He's up to 189, 2 homers, 10 runs driven in. It is first 2 home runs as a Cardinal in consecutive games on this West Coast trip last Sunday and Monday. And he had his first 3-hit game of the season on Tuesday. He's behind in the count here, 1-2.
You can see how the power departments of Andres Galarraga have diminished since 5 years ago.
Weekly to second. Lenny Harris throws him out, and that's all for St. Louis in the first. Hershiser gives up 1 run on 2 Cardinal hits, and after half an inning, it's 1-0 St. Louis. Mark Clark takes the mound, working with a 1-0 lead. He's a 24-year-old, 6'5" right-hander from Bath, Illinois. And the lineup he will face this afternoon has Jose Offerman leading off at shortstop. Tom Goodwin in center field. Eric Davis, the left fielder. Darryl Strawberry, the cleanup hitter, in right field. Eric Karros at first base. Batting 6th, the third baseman, Dave Hansen. Lenny Harris is the second baseman. Mike Scioscia, the catcher, bats 8th. And batting 9th, the pitcher, Orel Hershiser.
Mark Clark, in his last outing, became the second rookie this year to pitch a shutout in the National League. The other is a pitcher for the Dodgers, Pedro Estacio. So Mark Clark, off a strong start, will have these folks behind him. Milt Thompson, the left fielder. Ray Langford in center field. Brian Jordan, who will not play football anymore. He's with the Cardinals. Todd Zeile at third base. The Wizard of Oz at shortstop. Tim Jones at second base. Slick fielding Andres Galarraga at first. Tom Pagnozzi behind the plate, and Mark Clark on the mound.
Or as we would say in New England, where I'm from, Mark Clark.
Mark Clark.
Jose Offerman ready to face Clark. Offerman hitting .262. He has knocked in 15 runs. He squared to bunt and took it back. Both cornermen in on the grass for St. Louis. Zeal in at third. Galarraga is now backed up a half step at first. Again, he shows bunt. This time it's a strike, 1-1. Took Tommy Lasorda a while to come up with his lineup this morning. He had a check on the health of Mike Sharperson, who's been seeing most of the action lately at second base. Sharperson bothered by a sore right groin that kept him out of the lineup today. Red Butler was a question mark, but he was scratched with the sore shoulder that caused him to leave last night's game. Things continue to go poorly in 1992 for Tommy Lasorda. Offerman lines it right into the glove with Todd Zeal. But as Lasorda said before the game, I'm fine, I'm healthy, I feel good, and everything is wonderful except our record.
And Mike Sharperson hopes he's fine for Tuesday night. He is the Dodgers' lone participant in the All-Star game. Only 196 at-bats, but a .330 hitter, usually platooning. But I think that gives you an idea of the state of the Dodgers. They have a platoon player going to the All-Star game on Tuesday night.
Tom Goodwin looked at strike one. Goodwin in his second tour of duty this year with the Dodgers. In all, he's been to the plate 2 times with 1 hit, the single. He has 1 RBI to his credit. He takes a sinker low, 1-1. Goodwin was recalled from AAA Albuquerque for the 2nd time this year on July 9th. He was also here from May 24th through June 10th. 2 balls and a strike. Goodwin will be followed by Eric Davis. And when you think of Dodger candidates for the All-Star team, you certainly think of Davis and Strawberry and Hershiser ahead of Sharperson. A rare misplay in the field by Ozzie Smith. We'll wait to see how they score it. It was hit to his left, but a ball the Wizard usually handles, and the Dodgers have a 1-out base runner in the bottom of the 1st.
Only the 5th error all year by Ozzie Smith. The Cardinals, by the way, lead the National League in fewest errors committed with 54. Well, that is a ball that Ozzie Smith usually just sucks up.
And that is his first error in 43 games. He had played 42 consecutive games without an error, and that is the longest such streak by a shortstop in the majors this year.
Wow, 13 errors and 913 chances.
Goodwin at first with 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 1st. The Cardinals lead 1-0. The batter is Eric Davis. The ball low. Eric hitting .236. He was 0 for 4 last night.
Goodwin a threat to run. He had 48 stolen bases in Albuquerque, the AAA affiliate of the Dodgers, last year. He can fly.
He had 26 for the Albuquerque Dukes this year in just 69 games.
Of course, he is running against one of the strongest arms in the National League, and that's Tom Pagnozzi. Pagnozzi's thrown out 22 of the 66 runners trying to steal against him this year, a 33% rate.
Goodwin is on the move. The pitch high and tight. Pagnozzi's throw got him in plenty of time for Tim Jones to apply the tag. 2 outs and the base is now empty for Los Angeles.
They used to have those contests between games of doubleheaders where catchers used to throw balls in the barrel. Well, this ball would have been in the barrel. You get like $50 in the minor leagues. They do that all the time. This ball would have been in the barrel right there. Perfect throw by Pagnozzi to get Goodwin.
Davis hit a broken bat ground ball to second, and that's it for Los Angeles in the 1st. After 1 at Dodger Stadium, it's 1-0 St. Louis. 1 1-0 St. Louis after 1 inning here at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. The Cardinals have Todd Zeile leading off the second, then Brian Jordan and Tom Pagnozzi. Zeile, after a very slow start, is up to 260. 5 home runs, including a 2-run homer last night, and 30 runs driven in. We mentioned at the top of the show this afternoon, the Cardinals went 49 games without hitting more than 1 home run in a game before they had the 2 last night. The first time since May 16th. That's a base hit. And Zeile continues hot. 3 hits now for St. Louis.
Number 3, right fielder, Brian Jordan.
The reserve selected to the National League All-Star team this week by manager Bobby Cox and National League President Bill White, Darren Dalton, and Tom Pagnozzi. The reserve catchers, Will Clark and John Kruk, first baseman. We mentioned that Mike Sharperson is the only Dodger representative, and he'll be backing up at second along with Craig Biggio. And these are the starters elected by you, the fans, in 1992. The ball inside to Brian Jordan. Brian has been in a slump ever since announcing his decision to stay with baseball and give up football. His averages dipped below the Mendoza line. He's just 3 for his last 32. The strike, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
That outfield grass is still very, very wet, and I think if you're a base runner, you try to take advantage of that. You may be seeing the Cardinals and the Dodgers both trying to take advantage of the wet grass in the outfield and taking an extra base on balls hit to the outfield. That's where a lot of pitchers have started to pitch Brian Jordan, is inside. He's got that football swing, good power the other way, but he likes to extend his arms. Most guys who have played football have built up their chest muscles and their shoulders to the point where they have a difficult time getting around on the balls inside.
Chopped slowly down to third. Hansen has to hurry, and his throw is not in time. Looked like Hansen had trouble with both the footing and the grip on the ball. It wasn't much of a throw, and even if he had plenty on it, it probably wasn't going to be enough to get the speedy Jordan.
Yeah, also guys who have played a lot of football, and certainly Brian Jordan has, they can run, and they can run from a flat-footed stance. Brian Jordan, great acceleration, getting down the line quickly, and Hansen with no chance on throwing him out.
So St. Louis had back-to-back hits to start the first. They scored 1 run in the first. Now they have back-to-back base hits here in the second for Tom Pagnozzi, the all-star reserve catcher, hitting .282. The ball high as Pagnozzi turned to bunt. 4 homers for Tom, 3 of them away from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. He entered this season not having hit a home run outside of Busch Stadium.
That bunt attempt was not an attempt at all, I don't think. I think that was a decoy to give the infielders a chance to move around a little bit. He's certainly hitting here.
And he hits it fair down the left field line. That will score at least 1. Zeile's on to score. Jordan's being waved in. He will score, and it's 3-0 St. Louis. A 2-run double for Tom Pagnozzi. He's driven in 28 runs this season.
Number 8, second base.
Usually hits the ball the other way, but this one is drilled by Dave Hansen at third base.
And that definitely was not a bunt, Tim.
No, definitely not. No. If it was hard. You can see Bucky Dent wasting no time in sending Jordan. With nobody out, you have to be sure, and Dent was sure Jordan scores without a play.
Still no outs here in the second. And the pitch gets away from Scioscia. And Pagnozzi moves to third. Looked like a pitch that could have been easily handled by Scioscia.
The first to go for a catcher. You see Scioscia not getting down right there. A lot of times the knees are aching, the ankles are aching. Those are the 2 areas of a catcher's legs that give them the most problem when they are an aging ball club. And as you see, the Los Angeles Dodgers with the oldest team age in the National League. Not only that, but the oldest pitching staff too.
Pitching staff, average age of better than 31 years. But the Dodgers struggle to score runs. The infield is in here in the second. St. Louis already leading 3-0, and they have a runner at third with nobody out. 1-1 the count on Tim Jones, the second baseman, hitting 195. That was a passed ball charged to Mike Scioscia. Hard to believe that that is 8 passed balls already for Mike Scioscia this season. Bear in mind that part of that comes from handling the knuckleballer Tom Candiotti. The 1-2. Lifted to shallow center. Goodwin on the wet grass makes the running catch. And it was hit so shallow that Pagnozzi was playing it down the line. He's at third now with 1 out.
Talked about how fast a runner Goodwin is. A little shaky on that play. But he does the job. Fine play by Tom Goodwin, the center fielder. With the pitcher up, Sean, you'd think, well, this is an automatic squeeze possibility, but this guy can hit.
Matter of fact, Clark has had a hit in each of his last 4 games. For the season, he's at .286, 4 for 14 with 1 RBI, and the infield remains in with Clark up, 1 out, and a runner at third. That 4-game hitting streak leaves Clark 1 shy of the longest streak by a pitcher this season. Philadelphia's Don Robinson hit safely in 5 consecutive games until his streak was snapped while pinch hitting on Wednesday. Pitch out, no squeeze there. 1-1 now on Clark.
I think sometimes the approach a pitcher takes will talk a team into pitching out. Saw that feeble swing on the breaking ball by Clark, and then Mike Scioscia says, well, if he's swinging that bad, maybe Joe Torre will put the squeeze on. It's still a possibility.
Just outside, 2 balls and 1 strike on Clark. Joe Torre out to Bucky Dent. Relayed back in to Clark. Stepped off to see if Clark would give it away, and no flinching by Mark Clark.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen that. I've seen it in sacrifice situations, but not in squeeze situations. Hershiser trying to get Clark to commit early if he was going to squeeze.
He turns the bunt now. He missed it, and they have Pagnozzi trapped. High throw into left field, and the run scores. So Mike Scioscia is enduring a personal nightmare. His passed ball got Pagnozzi to third, and his throwing error when they had Pagnozzi trapped between the plate and third allows the run to score. It's 4-0 St. Louis. 7th error this year for Scioscia, in addition to the 8 pass balls.
We mentioned the Cardinals led the National League with the fewest errors. Well, the Dodgers have the most, and Scioscia on a routine rundown to Dave Hansen throws it wild, and Pagnozzi scores easily. If you're the runner at third, you try not to break too soon, and you could see Pagnozzi waiting, but Clark bunted through it. But the Dodgers, with the throwing error, scores the 4th run. Not making any excuses for the Dodgers, but this has got to be an exhausted ball club.
They played 3 consecutive doubleheaders, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, against the Montreal Expos. They also played one Friday against Philadelphia. 85 errors, the league lead. Clark strikes out. Boy, Scioscia's really lost. Perhaps still rattled by the passed ball and the error. Now he thought that was the 3rd out and started to head to the dugout. It's only the 2nd out and the first strikeout of the day for Orel Hershiser.
Number 25, Mill Thompson.
Embarrassing is a word that I hate to use on a ball field, because I've been out there, and I'll tell you, there's no place to hide. But I know if he could crawl in a hole right now, Mike Scioscia would. Probably the last thing, the most embarrassing, leaving the field with only 2 outs.
Can't blame him for being anxious to get into the dugout. The 0-1 pitch to Milt Thompson is low. Thompson single to start the ball game. He stole second in the first inning and scored the first run. Cardinals got 1 in the first, 3 here in the second. They lead 4-0. Offerman boots it and posts another error for Los Angeles. That is the 20th error of the year for Offerman, more than any other shortstop in the National League.
There is a book out called How to Play Baseball the Dodger Way. Well, I'm not too sure that this inning would be included as a chapter in that book, in the revised edition. Ugly inning for the Dodgers.
And must be something about us, Tim, because the last time we saw them on CBS was against Cincinnati. They committed 3 errors in the first inning of that ball game against the Reds, went on to lose 11-1. Thompson on the move as Smith slapped it to short. Offerman handles that play, and finally the inning ends. 3 more for the Cardinals. And after an inning and a half, it's 4-0 St. Louis. Dave Hansen, another young player, whom the Dodgers are high. He takes strike 1. The 0-1 pitch is high and away.
Joe Coleman, the Cardinal pitching coach, talking about Mark Clark. An interesting term. He said he's a power pitcher, but not a strikeout pitcher. A power pitcher that puts the ball in play.
The St. Louis rotation, as we mentioned at the outset, consists of Major League ERA leader Bob Tewksbury, and then 4 pitchers aged 25 and under. Clark was 24 in May. Real Cormier turned 25 in April. Omar Olivares turned 25 on Monday. Donovan Osborne just turned 23 in June. And there are some impressive numbers being posted by these 3 Cardinal rookies.
14-8. If you're wondering about the rest of the National League, the rest of the National League is 31-56. So the 3 Cardinal rookies have won almost half as many games as the other 11 teams combined in the National League.
14 victories by Cardinal rookie pitchers, the most of any team in the majors. The rookies on the other 11 National League teams are a combined 31-57. And the rain has returned to Dodger Stadium. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Hansen. 1 out, a runner at first. We're in the second. It's 4-0 St. Louis. And now the count is full.
You send the runner right here. I think even though you're trailing 4-0, we talked about how he's a contact pitcher. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. 16 strikeouts in 8 starts this year. So I think I'd send Strawberry here.
The Dodgers have very little to lose at this point, and they're really struggling to score runs. Strawberry does not move. It's a base hit. Dave Hansen extends his hitting streak to a career-high 7 straight games. He had a pinch hit single in the 9th last night to keep that streak alive.
Number 29.
So Darryl Strawberry, by not going, didn't go to third base. I think the natural inclination for teams when they're going poorly is to be too passive and to get too much back on their heels, to play it too much a base at a time. I think if you take the opposite approach and play with a little more wild abandon when things are going poorly for you, you'd be better off.
You might make something happen, generate a little enthusiasm, and get yourselves out of the doldrums.
What do you have to lose?
When you're 14 out at this point in the year, very little. There's a double play ball to Smith. Jones turns it. 6-4-3, and that ends the inning. After 2 in Los Angeles, 4-0 Cardinals. The lone Dodger representative in the All-Star game. He was a bit of a surprise choice, and yesterday I asked him for his reaction.
Well, you know, it's pretty hard to put in words. I know my wife and I, we high-fived for about 5 minutes, laughing at one another. You know, we couldn't really believe it. First of all, it was like a guy that was never on a ballot. didn't even have a starting position at the beginning of the year, platooning with Lenny. And then all of a sudden, I found myself playing every day, and now I'm going to the 1992 All-Star game.
And we'll have the All-Star game for you Tuesday night from San Diego at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Tuesday at 8, right here on CBS Sports, the 63rd All-Star game. Mike Sharperson needed a little extra effort to high-five his wife. He was resting at home, his right groin, had his foot up, and was just trying to get healthy. But he said when he got the phone call, he completely forgot that he had a groin injury. Started bouncing around the house, high-fiving with his wife. And so many of the Dodger players we've talked to the last couple of days have expressed their open happiness for Sharperson. It's nice to see somebody, as he said, a platoon player, get a chance to go based on his fine performance in that role.
And it's not often that 5 years later, after a rather insignificant trade is made, that both players get to the All-Star game.
Galarraga rips one down the left field line. That's a foul ball. Langford led off the inning, as you saw, with the fly ball to left on the first pitch. And now Galarraga's up there with a count of 1-2. He bounced out his first time up.
The trade to which we are referring was the Juan Guzman from Mike Sharperson trade back in 1987. A rather obscure trade made by the Dodgers to help them fill in their infield, and the Toronto Blue Jays knew they would have to wait. Getting Juan Guzman, had a problem with control throughout his career, and here 5 years later they're both in the All-Star game. That's neat.
It's really such a minor trade at the time.
Yeah.
And now 2 All-Stars. Galarraga goes down on the breaking ball. 2 outs in the third. And that's the second strikeout today for Orel Hershiser.
Number 27.
As we discussed last week, Guzman seems to be the most deserving starting pitcher in the All-Star game for the American League, although we've been hearing some rumors the last couple of days that Jack McDowell of the Chicago White Sox might be the choice. Todd Zeile singled starting the second. He scored the first of the 3 St. Louis runs last inning. The Cardinals scored 3 times last inning on 3 hits, 2 Dodger errors, and a pass ball. Hershiser just missed 1-1. With that base hit his first time up, Todd Zeile is 14 for his last 25. Chop to Hansen. He threw on the run. It's dug out of the dirt by Eric Karros, and the Cardinals go in order for the first time. After 2.5, it's 4-0 St. Louis, and we'll return to Dodger Stadium after this word from your local station. It's a good day to have a seat under one of the overhangs here at Dodger Stadium as the drizzle continues to fall. Mike Scioscia begins the Los Angeles third. The Cardinals lead 4-0. Scioscia up for the first time. He's batting .213, 2 homers and 17 knocked in. Back to the screen. It's quickly 0-2. He's facing Mark Clark, who was allowed just 1 hit and 1 walk through 2 innings. Clark will face Scioscia, then Hershiser, and Offerman.
You can see Mark Clark gripping the ball in split finger fashion. Rarely see pitchers do that. He has an outstanding splitter. That was a fastball there, but Joe Coleman again, the pitching coach of the Cardinals, talking about the effectiveness of Clark's splitter in his last game last Sunday.
Lifted to left. Milt Thompson drifts back, 1 out.
Batting 9, number 55. Pitcher, Orel Hershiser.
That brings up Orel Hershiser, who is the leading hitter among Los Angeles pitchers with a .211 batting average. He's 8 for 38. He's also the Dodger leader among pitchers in runs batted in with 3.
often see pitchers who are as complete a players in the other parts of the game as Orel Hershiser is. Excellent fielder, excellent hitter. He has 8 hits this year. Gold Glove winner 1988.
He has won just about everything you could win in baseball.
Yeah. Most valuable player in postseason play in 1988, the playoffs and the World Series.
Ball high, 2 balls and a strike.
The Cy Young Award winner that year. He ended the season with 59 consecutive scoreless innings.
Two and 2 now. 4-0 St. Louis. We're in the bottom of the third, 1 out and the base is empty. Zeal on the move, makes the play.
Talked about the grip of the split finger fastball with Mark Clark, and there it is again.
Number 30, Jose Offerman.
And that appeared to be the pitch that Hershiser got, the splitter.
Two outs and the base is empty. Clark waits as Jose Offerman took his time coming to the plate. Had to buy a little extra time for Hershiser to gather himself. Offerman lined to third, starting the Dodger first. More scores from around the American League. The Angels finally snapped their 11-game losing streak last night. Pretty well hit to left, and Thompson was in shallow, but he's back to make the catch, and the Dodgers go in order in the third. After 3 at Dodger Stadium, it's the Cardinals 4 and the Dodgers nothing. Lead 4-0. That young lady is obviously a Dodger fan. Not very happy at the moment.
There's Don Baylor, the batting instructor of the Cardinals, and he was one of the candidates to become the manager of the Cardinals when St. Louis hired Joe Torre 2 years ago. Don at that time was the batting instructor of the Milwaukee Brewers, and Torre was an announcer with the California Angels. Can you imagine the security that Joe Torre must have had to hire a guy who was thought highly enough to be considered as manager, to hire him as your batting coach?
And it's possible he could lose Don Baylor as his batting coach. Baylor's name has been at the top of the rumor list for the vacant managing job with the Texas Rangers. It's not vacant at the moment, and that's being occupied by Toby Harrah, but he's been carrying the interim label, although we heard some scuttlebutt this morning that said it might be announced in the next day or two that Harrah is going to be the Ranger manager for the go to the 4th.
Joe Torre hiring Don Baylor, much akin to George Bush asking Ross Perot if he'd be his running mate. Not quite that extreme,
no,
mind you.
A lot of people thought Baylor would get that managing job in Milwaukee when Tom Trebelhorn was fired. That's a fair ball. Again, down to the left field corner. Jordan in the second with a leadoff double. He's 2 for 2 today. He came into this one 3 for his last 32. He has a single and a double this afternoon.
We talked about how Brian Jordan needs to extend his arms in his last at bat, that you can crowd him. Watch how he extends his arms on this breaking ball. That's full extension. So you can really tell that Jordan loves the ball out over the plate. He slaps it down the left field line and slips rounding first base, barely touching the bag.
Seven hits now. And a ball outside to Tom Pagnazzi. He had the biggest hit of the ball game to this point, a 2-run double down the left field line in the second. He scored the final run of the 3-run second for St. Louis. Weekly back to the mound. Hershiser looked at third, did not have a play there, and he throws Pagnazzi out. Jordan at third with 1 out. Let's take a look at the game summary to this point. The Dodgers have committed 2 errors. That opened the door for the 3 runs in the second. Only one of those runs was unearned. Tom Pagnozzi, the biggest hit. A 2-run double in the second that scored Todd Zeile and Brian Jordan. They had started the inning with back-to-back singles. And on that double, Pagnozzi picked up RBI 27 and 28. Jones turned on one and pulled it well foul into the stands and right. Then a pass ball got Pagnozzi to third. Clark tried to squeeze him in and missed, but Socha threw it over the head of Dave Hansen. An error charge to Sosa to go along with his pass ball in the inning, and Pagnozzi scored to make it 4-0. That's where we stand now in the 4th. The infield again in for the Dodgers, and Jones lifts a pop-up. Could be a problem. Caught on the run by Davis. He had the only shot at it with Offerman playing in. Ordinarily, that would be the shortstop's ball, but Jose was in on the edge of the grass, and Jordan is still at third with 2 outs now.
Orel Hershiser, the winner in Game 2 of last Monday's doubleheader against Montreal. He gave up 10 hits in that game. And his previous game, he gave up 13 hits with a no decision. But that was the first 2 games, the first 2 consecutive games in his career that he has given up back-to-back double-digit hits. And that in itself is remarkable and an idea of what kind of career he has had.
He was in with strike 1 to his opposite number, Mark Clark, who struck out his first time up. And he's on the verge of that again. 0-2 the count. Clark laid off the breaking ball from Hershiser. Orel looking for his 8th win of the year. He's 7-6. Well, an ERA of 3.3. There was some speculation a couple of days ago that he might be the Dodger All-Star selection. Fastball high, 2-2. Said if anybody deserves it from the Dodgers, and you could argue that point, Mike Sharperson is the most deserving Dodger All-Star. And Clark strikes out for the second time. Cardinals cannot capitalize on the leadoff double, and in the middle of the 4th, it's 4-0 St. Louis. To Rick LaCivita, our director Joe Assetti, delighted to have you with us on this Saturday afternoon. It is brightening here at Dodger Stadium as we go to the bottom of the 4th.
Very little rain at this time of year. The Dodgers have been rained out 15 times in their history since moving out here in 1958, and the first time against the St. Louis Cardinals back in 1967.
Tom Goodwin 1 for 3 this year, 0 for 1 today. He reached on an error by Ozzie Smith. He squared the bunt and took a strike. Goodwin, Davis, and Strawberry in the 4th inning. Conclusion of today's game, Tim McCarver and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in the player's name to the Special Olympics. Just joining us, Goodwin playing today for Brett Butler, who had to leave last night's game with a sore right shoulder. Butler due for some time off anyway. Fly ball to shallow right. Brian Jordan the catch. 1 out in the 4th. Butler, Jose Offerman, and Eric Karros, the 3 Dodgers who played in every inning of those 3 doubleheaders, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday against the Montreal Expos.
Dodgers swept the Expos on Monday night. The Expos came back and swept the Dodgers Tuesday night. They split on Wednesday, and then Montreal goes up and wins 2 in a row from San Francisco.
Eric Davis lines one into the gap in left center. It's a base hit. Langford over to the Los Angeles base hit. We mentioned Brett Butler not in action today. Coming into today's game, he had played in 233 consecutive games. And that is the second longest current streak in the majors behind Cal Ripken's 1,658.
So if a guy like Butler says he's hurt, he's hurt. He's not looking for a way out, and that is not always the case in this day of long-term contracts. A lot of guys can't distinguish pain from injury. If you're injured, you can't play. If you have pain, you got to play. I mean, if you're a regular ball player and you go out and play 150 to 160 games a year, you're going to hurt half the time.
Darryl Strawberry pulls one down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Jordan over to play it. Davis to third. Strawberry holds at first with a long single. And the Dodgers threaten in earnest for the first time this afternoon with runners at first and third and one out.
He's 6'6", so you would anticipate it being long. Look how he curls the bat. And watch this long swing, how far he has to go with the bat to get it in the hitting motion. Long and effective.
Eric Karros the batter. One ball on Karros, who struck out swinging his first time up. That's the only strikeout registered by Mark Clark to this point. Fastball on the corner for strike one. Davis the runner at third, Strawberry at first, the infield at double play depth with one out in the fourth, and with St. Louis leading 4-0. In on the hands and popped up. Galarraga in foul ground makes the play. That is a big second out of the inning for St. Louis.
Well, a pitcher can entice younger players to go out of the strike zone in situations like that because most of the time the young players are anxious. Mark Clark is a young pitcher, but he's got a veteran catcher back there, and this ball in on the hands of Eric Karros. It ties him up, and the Cardinals get an important out.
Now it'll be up to Dave. The base hit to right his first time up today, and he looks at strike one. Hansen, with his 1-for-1 today, is now 10 for his last 19. Out of play and left. And as you noted at the outset, it is a late arriving Los Angeles crowd. There were very few people here when this ball game began. And now we have a very nice crowd here at Dodger Stadium, where the Dodgers have been averaging better than 35,000 fans per home date. The 0-2 pitch. Fastball under his chin.
Not every pitch is designed to get you out. That pitch was not designed to get Hansen out, but it was designed to get him thinking about the inside so Clark can go back outside. I'd be surprised if he comes right back inside.
Back to his strength with the sinker. He did go to the sinker to get Hansen on the check swing. So Clark gets out of it with his second strikeout of the day. The Dodgers strand two after 4-0 Cardinals. First 20 games of the homestand following their 3-1 loss last night. Top of the order for St. Louis in the fifth. Milt Thompson singled in the first, reached on an error by Offerman in the second, and he's on again with a base hit past Offerman. 2 for 3 is Milt Thompson.
I think it's worth reiterating also that the Dodgers have not finished in last place in the National League since 1905. The Cardinals, on the other hand, similar success. They didn't finish last in the National League from 1918 to 1990. But then before Joe Torre took over, Whitey Herzog left, eventually landed with the California Angels as their general manager. And in 1990, the Cardinals finished last.
Ozzie Smith singled to right center in the first. He bounced to short in the second. Breaking ball high. Buggy Dent the third base coach. Dave Collins is the first base coach. Put a pretty good team out in the field with Joe Torre's coaching staff.
Yeah.
Don Baylor, the hitting coach. There's Dave Collins, the first base coach. Joe Coleman, the pitching coach. He was a fine major league player. Tom moved to cover second. Everything going right for the Cardinals this afternoon. Smith is 2 for 3. First and third and nobody out in the St. Louis fifth.
In order to prevent a ball going through a vacated position, you as the middle infielder, if you come up and then over, you prevent that. Offerman went right to the bag. That's what a lot of young shortstops do. If you come up, you don't give up the position. Naturally, you're playing closer. But he broke right for the bag, vacating the hole.
Smith takes off. Scioscia's throw a one hopper, not in time. Offerman fielded it on the hop and tried to sweep the tag back to get Ozzie Smith. But it's a stolen base, and that's the 20th of the season for Ozzie. His 15th year now of 20 stolen bases or more. And that ties him with Lou Brock for the second longest such steals. The infield now in, and Langford takes ball 2, 2-0. Throw back to the mound, almost got by Hershiser. Langford bounced into a 4-6-3 double play in the first. He was out on the fly ball to left in the third. Chance for the Cardinals to break this one wide open. Golf foul down to the photographer area along first. Hershiser has now yielded 8 hits. The 2-1. Pulled down to first. Karros looked Thompson back to third, and that's the first out of the inning.
Thompson and Smith not going there, but with second and third and 1 out, I think it's proper to send the runner, regardless of the situation, when you have the lead. A lot can happen. The worst that can happen is you end up with runners at first and third and 2 outs if the runner's thrown out at home. So while the runners didn't run with nobody out, look for them to run here with 1 out.
And Andres Galarraga, the batter. In tight, ball 1. Galarraga has hit just .116 this year with runners in scoring position. That is the lowest batting average with men in scoring position in the National League.
That's why the Dodgers are pitching to him here.
To right field, not very deep. Strawberry catches it on the run. Thompson won't try it. He came about a third of the way down the line before returning to third. So they had second and third with nobody out. Now they're at second and third with 2 outs.
Normally with first base open, you would tease the strike zone with Galarraga up there. You wouldn't throw him a good strike to hit. But because he has been so futile with runners in scoring position, they pitch to him and he continues to be unproductive.
If you're the Cardinals there with Thompson, a decent runner at third, you're already ahead 4-0. Why not take a chance with Milt Thompson? Wet outfield grass?
I think you have the fat part of the lineup up. I think with Zeal hitting, with Jordan hitting, both have been swinging hot bats. I think it would have been suicidal to try to score on Darrell. He was too shallow. Even though he did catch the ball below the waist, so he had a lot to do with the throw, but that throw would have nailed Thompson.
Now they'll pitch around. Todd Zeal, pitching coach Ron Peronoski, visited the mound to talk about the situation. Zeal 14 for his last 26, so they won't mess with him. They'll load the bases with 2 outs and work to Brian Jordan.
Another term for a base hit in baseball is safeties, right? Well, Brian Jordan with 2 safeties today. That's exactly how many he had last year in the NFL. 2 safeties, and that tied an NFL record.
He was frequently a blitzing defensive back in that hard-charging scheme of Jerry Glanville. Really, a Jerry Glanville-type player would rip your head off if he had a chance to. Saw Brian Jordan's wife a couple of days ago. She's on the trip here in Los Angeles. Said, you must be very happy that your husband's not playing football anymore. You don't have to worry about him getting injured. She said, oh, no. I'm a football fan. I like football better than baseball. I wish he was still playing. So we know the pressure to give up football did not come from Brian's wife, Pam. Ball 1 to Jordan. He had an infield hit and scored in the second. He doubled down the left field line and was stranded in the fourth. That double last inning came as the leadoff hitter, and they got Jordan to third with 1 out. So if the Cardinals failed to score here, this would be the second consecutive inning in which they had a chance to pad the lead and failed to do so. A great chance, in fact. Thompson at third, Smith at second, Zeal at first with 2 outs. We're in the fifth, 4-0 St. Louis. Hershiser took too much time. He's working from the windup with the bases loaded. Brian's wife did not pressure him to give up football. His mother did. His mother, Betty, who lives in the Baltimore area, says she used to pray during every one of Brian's football games that nothing would happen to him physically. She reminded Brian of what happened to Bo Jackson. Jordan says that Jackson's experience definitely contributed to his decision to play baseball only. The 2-2 to Offerman. He shuffles off to Harris to end the inning. So the Cardinals blow another great chance to score, but halfway through the ball game they are still on top, 4-0. 8 p.m. Tuesday night airtime for the All-Star game. Bottom third of the order for the Dodgers as the fifth inning has rolled around. Lenny Harris the batter.
Mentioned Brian Jordan in connection with Bo Jackson the last inning. Bo Jackson talking about coming back next year with an artificial hip. Unbelievable.
He hopes to be working out again in September with the White Sox. Brian Jordan says since it is Bo Jackson, you can't rule it out. Mark Clark in with a strike, 2-1 on Harris, who bounced into a 6-4-3 double play in the second. Mike Scioscia on deck, then Orel Hershiser is due. You look at what Clark did in the minors last year, and you have to be a little bit surprised at his success this year. He was 5-5 at Double-A Arkansas with an ERA of 4. Joe Torre said he came to spring training with a broken foot. Smith came into this one without an error in 42 consecutive games, and that's his second error this afternoon.
Number 14,
and both plays rather routine as his name. The first he had to go to his left. This one he couldn't get the ball out of his glove, so 2 rare errors on Ozzie Smith.
Joe Torre waited a while before the game this morning in posting his lineup card, and he said he wanted to check with Ozzie Smith. He's still just back from the chicken pox, and Joe thought he might be a little bit tired with the early day game following the night game last night, but Ozzie said he was ready to go. He has committed 2 errors. The lead man on for the Dodgers in the fifth. Scioscia, big swing and a foul straight back to the screen. Mike was out on the fly ball to left, his first time up.
4-run lead. I don't know what really the Cardinals are thinking about here. I mean, you've got Lenny Harris on first base, a left-handed batter up. I don't think you should be holding the runner on in this situation. That 4-run lead, cushion enough, and I don't think the Dodgers would run anyway. When you're behind by more than 2 or 3 runs in the middle innings, you have to be very, very careful and very, very sure, and Tommy Lasorda knows that, if you're going to try to steal a base. You do open up the hole on the right side.
Scioscia, a bunt, and a good one. Clark does not have a play. Harris to second on the bunt base hit by Mike Scioscia.
A blueprint right here from Scioscia. Tom Pagnazzi, Todd Zeile converging, pitcher Mark Clark, and a bunt base hit and a beauty by Mike Scioscia. Hit number 4 for the Dodgers.
And here's Todd Benzinger to bat for Orel Hershiser.
For the Dodgers, batting for Hershiser, number 36.
Benzinger up with first and second and nobody out. We're in the 5th. The Cardinals lead 4-0. Hershiser's day will end after 5 innings. He didn't sparkle, but he wasn't helped by those playing in the field with him. Benzinger has fared well as a pinch hitter. He's 8 for 24 off the bench, a .333 pinch hit batting average with 2 runs driven in. Out of play in left. 0-2 on Benzinger. Todd was seeing a lot of playing time when Davis and Strawberry were injured. But now that they are back, he's on the bench. The 0-2 offering fouled off the catcher Pagnazzi. Benzinger had a pinch hit single last night in the 7th inning. He's a valuable guy to have at a ball club. Switch hitter, usually puts the ball in play. He can play the outfield or first base. And he strikes out. An off-speed pitch from Mark Clark for the first out of the inning. And that is the 3rd strikeout of the afternoon for the 6'5" right-hander.
All 3 strikeouts have come in key situations. He got Eric Karros with a man on in the 2nd inning and nobody out. He got Dave Hansen with 2 men on and 2 out in the 4th. And now with 1st and 2nd and nobody out, he gets Benzinger.
Dodgers had 1st and 3rd with 1 out last inning and failed to score. They had 1st and 2nd and nobody out here in the 5th. Now 1 man out. Harris takes off to 3rd. The throw to 3rd, not in time. And with the throw heading to 3rd from Pagnazzi, Scioscia made an alert play and took off for 2nd. He was not running with the pitch as Harris was, but they both move up a base.
And I think the reason that Pagnazzi didn't go to 2nd base was because he was blinded by the hitter. Lenny Harris just catching the Cardinals napping right here. But that's the type of reckless abandon we were talking about earlier. And the Dodgers showing that they're certainly not being passive here.
You mentioned that Clark's strikeouts have come today when they've really needed him, and he has shown the ability this year to bear down when the opposition has met in scoring position. He's held opposing hitters to a .121 batting average this year with men in scoring position. The opposition a combined 4 for 33 against him. 0-1, 2 Offerman is inside. 2 balls and a strike on Jose, who is 0 for 2 today. He's up with 1 out. Lenny Harris, the runner at 3rd, following his 10th stolen base of the year. And Scioscia is at 2nd. It was his 3rd steal of the year. Chopped to short. Smith goes to 3rd. They have Scioscia caught between 2nd and 3rd, and Jones tags him out. 6-5-4 the play on Scioscia, but a run is on the board for Los Angeles.
Oh, Mike is having a dreadful day. That is a terrible base running mistake. When you're the runner at 2nd base, regardless of the runner on 3rd, if the ball is hit at you or to your left, you go to 3rd. If the ball's hit to your right, you've got to stay there. And Mike Scioscia, an easy out, taking a runner out of scoring position. See, the ball was to his right. When the ball's to your right, if you're a runner on at 2nd base, you stay. If the ball's to your left, you go. And Mike Scioscia, an easy out, and a bad base running play by Mike. He's having a bad day.
And it's so out of character. He is ordinarily such a heads-up player, but
what a warrior. You're right.
And perhaps, not to alibi for him, but perhaps all those doubleheaders and all these games the Dodgers have played are taking their toll. He is the toughest job of all to be out there day after day with all the equipment on. And as you mentioned, it's been an uncharacteristically hot and humid week in Los Angeles with the temperatures daily up around 90 and very high humidity.
Even though Mike didn't start last night, Carlos Hernandez, the other catcher, the other Dodger catcher, was a starter.
4-1 St. Louis in the bottom of the fifth. Tom Goodwin, the batter, with a count of 0-1. Offerman at first with 2 outs. The ball low and away. Goodwin is 0 for 2 today. The run unearned as a result of the second error of the ball game by Ozzie Smith. RBI for Offerman, his 16th of the season. He has stolen 10 bases this year and has been thrown out 4 times. Offerman runs as Goodwin sent it straight back.
Tell you, it is so nice to see a healthy Bruce Frimming barking out the balls and strikes today. A couple of weeks ago, he went in for a routine physical in New York, and he had 96% blockage of the arteries.
Amazing how quickly one can recover in this day and age from an angioplasty.
Angioplasty, right.
Just a couple of weeks, and he's back in action.
He's lost a little weight. Says he has to stay away from liver and onions. It's not that tough.
I'm sure his umpiring crewmates would appreciate that too as they traveled around the National League. Chop to second to Jones. And they get the hustling Goodwin by a running step. The Dodgers are finally on the board.
Menards can help you make do-it-yourself projects easier. Put air power to work for you with Campbell Hausfeld air tools and compressor. This 3/4 horsepower air compressor is now just $169. And beautify your home with Olympic House and Trim Stain. Their modified oil formula penetrates and protects wood. Now just $8.97 a gallon. Save on all your do-it-yourself projects at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
3-run lead for the Cardinals as we go to the 6th, and there's a new man at the center of the diamond. For Los Angeles, he's 31-year-old right-hander Tim Cruz.
0-1 on the year. He recently started a game back on July 7th, one of those doubleheader games, and it was his only start of the year and only his 3rd major league start. We mentioned Greg Brock, big left-handed first baseman, formerly with the Milwaukee Brewers, and that was the person for whom Tim was traded. And he has done a yeoman job for the Dodgers over the years.
The trade was before Greg Brock. Tom Pagnozzi greets Tim Cruz. Pagnozzi belted a 2-run double into the left field corner his first time up. He bounced back to the mound against Hershiser in the 4th. First pitch from Cruz is a strike. Cruz is from Tampa. He's 6 feet, 195 pounds. Very high along the line and right. Strawberry the catch, 1 out. Let's take you around the horn now in the American League. One of the notable omissions from the All-Star game in the American League is Cecil Fielder, who is leading the majors in runs batted in, but Travis Fryman will be the Tiger representative.
He's on a pace for 150 RBIs and not on the All-Star team. Strange.
People talked a month or two ago about the slow start of Cecil Fielder. We haven't heard much of that lately.
No.
2 outs. Another notable omission from the American League All-Star squad, Dave Winfield, among the league leaders in several offensive categories, and it would have been return home to San Diego, where his career began.
It just seems normal to me to expand the rosters, and then you don't have any omissions like that. I mean, when the rosters, the All-Star rosters, were set before the 1969 season, there were only 20 teams in the major leagues. Now there are 26. So it would seem normal to expand the rosters. But often baseball and the powers that be do not do normal things.
Mark Clark struck out twice. The dilemma faced by Tom Kelly, the American League manager, and League President Dr. Bobby Brown, came in the pairs of outfielders from the same team in the American League. You had Joe Carter and Dave Winfield at Toronto, Ruben Sierra and Juan Gonzalez at Texas. They could only take one each. The throw was off the bag, but Karros came off to get it. Cruz to Karros to get Clark and end the inning. 4-1 St. Louis as we go to the bottom of the sixth there at Dodger Stadium. We noted a moment ago on our tour of the American League that Bobby Valentine became the second managerial casualty in Major League Baseball this season. Tom Runnels of Montreal the first. They went a long time with Bobby Valentine without really ever winning anything. They didn't win a division title. But some of the players, including Jeff Hewson, quoted this week as saying they thought Bobby Valentine was doing his best managing job this year. Davis rattled the mask of Tom Pagnozzi on the first pitch of the Dodger sixth.
The Texas Rangers entering today's play 5.5 games behind the Minnesota Twins. They're 6 games over 500 in the American League West, so they still have a very, very good shot. And the White Sox don't keep their surge going.
Bobby Valentine's point was, boy, Minnesota goes 15-3. We drop a few games back, as you might expect, with a first place club going 15-3. And great play by Zeal. He handled a one-hop smash and threw Davis out. In a game that has featured some very sloppy fielding on both sides, that is without argument the play of the day.
Sparkling play by Todd Zeal. You folks at home could be the third baseman and realize why they call it the reaction corner, hot corner, whatever you want to call it. That is a terrific play by Todd Zeal.
In the air in left center. Milt Thompson makes the catch. 2 down in the sixth. 4-1 St. Louis. We continue our tour of the American League. One guy who made a late charge to try to get into the All-Star game, George Bell, since moving to the cleanup spot on June 6th when Gene Lamont moved each of his 3 hitters in a row. Lemmer. Eric Karros takes a strike at the knees. He's 0 for 2 today. A gnarly swing, and it was fouled away. And the count is full. Clark has only walked 1. That was Strawberry back in the second. Joe Torre said with the exception of 1 start 2 weeks ago against the Mets, Clark has been getting progressively better with each start throughout this season, and he's continuing that trend again today. That's the second free pass he has issued. He should be working on a shutout. The 1 run was under.
That's right.
Dave Hansen, single to right in the second. He struck out, looking in the fourth. Out of play in left, 1-1.
The fewest runs allowed, 16 straight games in a season. The St. Louis Cardinals, and there it is, 25. That is the best in this century.
Well, the pitching staff, as we said, was thought to be the question mark of this St. Louis team before the season started. Joe Coleman, the pitching coach, said, we have a lot of faith in our minor league people, and they told us that they thought guys like Osborne and Clark and Perez
What makes it all the more remarkable is in 1968, that was the phenomenal year of Bob Gibson when he had a 1.12 ERA. The Cardinals led the majors in shutouts with 30 that year. 30 shutouts. Gibson had 13.
The ball low, and all of a sudden Clark's control has deserted him. Now will bring the tying run to the plate. with 2 outs in the 6th, and that has pitching coach Joe Coleman on the phone to the bullpen for the first time today. It also has Joe Coleman on the way to the mound as they stir out in right field. Mike Perez is going to start throwing. Anytime a young pitching staff fares as well as this one has, you have to give credit to the pitching coach. Joe Coleman is obviously doing nice things with these fellows.
Joe Coleman was the bullpen coach of the California Angels when Joe Torre was an announcer. Joe thought enough of Joe to ask him to be his pitching coach. And right there seated, Red Schoendienst. Check those shades. We talked about being contemporary earlier. Now there's a cool dude right there, Red Schoendienst.
In his 51st year in professional baseball, his 48th consecutive year in a major league uniform as a player, manager, and coach, and keeping right up with the fact, not only wearing those glasses, but the Cardinal colored glasses.
Yeah, old Rojo played for Red. He was the Cardinal manager for 12 years, from 65 through 76.
And I was very surprised when Red asked me if I wanted to go surfing after the game today when I saw him in the clubhouse. Now I'm not as surprised as I was then.
Sure, dude.
Party on, Red. 2 outs and 2 men on. 1-0 the count on Lenny Harris. Let's chop the second. A room service bounce to Jones, and that ends the inning. 6 runners stranded by the Dodgers. With us. We'll be joined in San Diego by our colleagues Pat O'Brien and Jim Cott. A lot of interesting features to come your way on our telecast on Tuesday, including a camera inside first base. Milt Thompson, the batter, as we go to the 7th. He's been on base 3 times. He's 2 for 3 with 2 singles, and he reached on an error by the Los Angeles shortstop Jose Offerman. Top of the order against Tim Cruz, Thompson, Smith, and Langford. Cruz has pitched 1 perfect inning of relief. Looking forward to base cam, see what kind of a
90 feet away. Amazing what they're doing with technology today. We could see 90 feet with a camera.
And it's manned by the smallest cameraman in the history of baseball television. It's unmanned. Be a little uncomfortable in that first base bag.
We're trying to be accurate. Let's be right there.
You are correct, sir. Lenny Harris throws Thompson out at his 20th stolen base of the year. He's also committed 2 errors. Must be something about Dodger Stadium. Ozzy's last 2-error game was in this ballpark this year, April 27th.
That's 4 errors in this park this year.
And only 2 in all of the other parks in the National League. So the top of the 7th, 1 out. The bases are clear. And Smith is called out on strikes. 2 outs in the 7th. That's the first strikeout for Cruz, who has retired all 5 Cardinal batters he has faced today. And Ray Langford strides to the plate. He's 0 for 3.
Everybody thinks Southern California is the bastion of power as far as Major League Baseball players are concerned.
Cruz, a quick worker. Watches Langford sink it into right. Langford 1 for 4. That is the 9th St. Louis hit and the first allowed by Cruz. They scored once in the first, 3 times in the second. The Dodger run came in the 5th. Gallo, 7th inning stretch. 4-1 St. Louis. Mike Scioscia, the batter against Mark Clark, allowed only 4 hits through 6 innings. The Dodger offensive woes continue. Scioscia had the last hit for the Dodgers, a bunt base hit in the 5th inning. All 4 of the Los Angeles hit single. And gets it back in. The Dodgers have had a base runner in every inning, at least 1 in every inning except the 3rd. Pitcher Cruz, the next scheduled hitter, but Mitch Webster is at the plate to bat for him. Cruz pitched 2 shutout innings. Webster, a switch hitter, batting .238 overall. Jay Howell will be the new pitcher. when we go to the top of the 8th. +1. Webster batting from his weaker side of the plate in 1992. He's hitting only .222 left-handed. But he has been an excellent pinch hitter. 6 for 14 in a pinch hitting capacity, including a pinch hit homer and 7 runs batted in. That's well hit toward the gap in right center field. Jordan can't get it. Scioscia on his way to third. First and third, and nobody out for Los Angeles in the 7th inning. And Joe Torre is going to make a pitching change. So another solid outing for Mark Clark. The tying run is coming to the plate for the Dodgers when we come back.
This relief break is sponsored by Rolaids.
Last 19 innings, but that streak is in jeopardy as he leaves behind him runners at first and third in the Los Angeles 7th. And nobody out. Chris Carpenter, the new hurler for St. Louis.
Chris from Gainesville, Georgia. He attended the University of Georgia. He was a punter on the football team. He was drafted as the 14th player selected for the Cardinals back in 1987. He throws a good split finger fastball right over the top. He was 10-4 last year, 3-2 this year.
First and third and nobody out. The infield at double play depth as Offerman missed the first pitch thrown by Carpenter. The runner at third is Mike Scioscia. And at first, Mitch Webster. He's held on by Galarraga. Webster, a decent base runner. He has stolen 7 bases. He's only been caught once. Carpenter on the inside part of the plate, and he has jumped ahead of Offerman 0-2. Offerman at the plate. Tom Goodwin is on deck. Slider low and inside. Talked about this young pitching staff of St. Louis, and certainly Carpenter is not an old man. He turned 27 on April 5th. 6'1", 185 pounds. His 1-2 pitch. He struck him out with a pitch around the knees. That's the first out of the inning. The 4th strikeout for St. Louis pitching today.
Mark Clark and his 3 strikeouts, all important strikeouts, and Chris Carpenter comes in and gets an important strikeout here in the 7th. When you have runners on at first and third and nobody out, for the most part, you've given up that run at third base, especially with the 3-run lead.
Tom Goodwin was the scheduled batter, but the Dodgers all-star Mike Sharperson has moved in the on-deck circle. He's still bothered by that sore right groin, and that's why he did not start today's game. He'll be followed by Eric Davis. Sharperson's all-star numbers, a .328 batting average. 2 homers, 27 runs batted in, and he's fared well as a pinch hitter. 5 for 18. Ball low and away, 1 ball on Sharperson. Just like his predecessor Clark, Carpenter has been very tough. When the opponents have had runners in scoring position, they've hit only 145 against Chris Carpenter. Something has to give, as this year Mike Sharperson is hit .339 with men in scoring position. Webster back to first.
Well, Carpenter wants a ground ball out of Sharperson. If he hits it to anybody in the infield, regardless of the speed of the ball hit, it'll probably be a double play. Sharp
out of play into the crowd of 34,216 today at Dodger Stadium. And just as the crowd was late arriving, the blip is a little bit late in arriving because of the weather. Inside, 2-1 on Sharperson. 1 out, first and third for Los Angeles in the 7th. St. Louis leads 4-1. Cardinals had chances to put the Dodgers away early, well before the Goodyear blimp arrived. That's a bullet foul. Sharperson turned on it and smoked it on a hop into the stands and left. tough slider from Carpenter.
It's tough. American League with only one left-hander, Mark Langston, the only left-hander on the staff.
Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr. will represent Seattle. They got a perfect double play ball. Smith stepped on the bag and doubled up Sharperson. And the Dodgers do it again. They have a great chance to score and fail to do so after 7, 4-1 St. Louis. The new pitcher for Los Angeles, the third of the day for the Dodgers, is Jay Howell. 8th inning, 4-1 St. Louis. And Todd Zeile takes a ball. There's a new center fielder in the ball game as well, Mitch Webster. Give him 6 hits. He walked 3 and struck out 3. There's a base hit just past the lunge of Jose Offerman. Zeile continues to sizzle.
The year after that incident.
Little lob off first, caught by Karros for the first out of the inning. We're in the 8th, and St. Louis leads 4-1. 1 out and a runner at first. Jordan now 2 for 4. Tom Pagnozzi had the biggest hit of the ball game, a 2-run double in the second. He also scored in that inning.
See that walk to home plate by Pagnozzi? That was a day game after a night game walk by a catcher, if I ever saw one.
Zeile runs again. Pagnozzi lined it to short. And it's an easy double play. Offerman elected not to throw across the diamond. Double play, 6 unassisted. That ends the inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th at Chavez Ravine. 4-1 Cardinals.
To the All-Star team.
For the first time, Sheffield has driven in 60 runs this year, 2 more than Murray and Dalton. Time running out of the Dodgers here this afternoon. Eric Davis. Single to center in the 4th. Eric Karros to follow against reliever Chris Carpenter. In that Boston win over Chicago, Tom Bernansky hit a grand slam for the Red Sox, and Mo Vaughn hit a 3-run homer. And after 11 consecutive losses, and Dennis Eckersley had his 30th save in Oakland's win at Toronto. We begin with the man most expect will be the starter for the National League Tuesday night for the 2nd straight year. Tom Glavine. Strawberry, the batter. He has walked, singled, and fly to left. 1 out and the base is empty in the 8th. 4-1 St. Louis. Fastball at the belt, strike 1. The only other pitcher you could make an argument for is the Cardinals' Bob Tewksbury. Strawberry down to Galarraga, on to Carpenter. 3-1 the play, 2 outs in the 8th. You mentioned that Greg Swindell was not selected to the team, and he was very disappointed, and you can understand why.
A lot of things added to his disappointment. I mean, it's his first time in the National League. Coming over an 8-2 record, a 2.94, an excellent ERA, and look at the walks. Only 24 walks in 128 2/3 innings. Cincinnati being in first place, of course.
One the count. 2 outs and the base is empty in the 8th. It's 4-1 St. Louis. Cleveland Indians are a nice story. That's a bullet foul into the stands in left. They have a very young nucleus with Jim Thome becoming healthy now. They have what they think will be their infield of the future completely in place. With Thome at third, Mark Lewis at short, Carlos Baerga, an all-star at second. Sandy Alomar Jr., an all-star behind the plate, and Reggie Jefferson now healthy at first base. Check swing, and a tapper back to the screen.
Kenny Lofton, the fine young outfielder. Charles Nagy, an all-star selection, right-handed pitcher.
In that infield, Jim Thome, 21 years old. Lewis, 22 years old. Baerga and Jefferson, each 23. Alomar's 25. Been saying that for a long time in Cleveland. Langford the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the Dodgers in the 8th, and we head to the 9th with the Cardinals on top 4-1. Led by Eric Davis and Darryl Strawberry, the Dodgers had high hopes for this 1992 season. They trail 4-1 as we go to the 9th this afternoon. 1 year ago today, the Dodgers were in first place in the National League West by 5 games over Cincinnati. They came into action today in last place in the West, 14 games behind the Reds. And the way they're playing, Tim, with very little hope of making the kind of near miracle comeback it would take.
21 divisions or pennants.
One out.
More important than some no decisions, and today is one of them.
Well, in some box scores, he'll get a hold.
Yeah.
Who held the lead. Webster holds the ball for the second out.
But it's not an official stat as far as baseball is concerned, and I think that's a bit unfair. Something's got to be done for middle relievers who turn in a good job like Chris did today, for them to get credit for it.
Slowly down the line, could be a tough play. Howell couldn't get it. And Milt Thompson has his 3rd hit of the afternoon. It's the 14th time he has fanned this year. He's been up 263 times. That's a fair ball. Eric Carroll sends the inning. On to the bottom of the 9th in Los Angeles. It's 4-1 St. Louis. Ball for the Dodgers as they get ready to bat in the 9th, trailing 4-1. It was the most eventful week in Major League Baseball, and it started with the commissioner's decision that in the best interest of baseball he had ordered realignment of the National League. The Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals will move to the Western Division, the West Division, and Atlanta and Cincinnati head east. Of course, the Cubs are protesting in court.
I think for the sake of illustration, consider the commissioner of baseball as a chiropractor, and he has this body of baseball lying before him with 28 joints down the vertebra, 4 out of place. Give it one little snap, and only 3 pop back into place. The CC joints out of line. Malpractice.
Spoken like a man who has endured that pain in the past.
That is correct.
And Lee Smith hoping to be a thorn in the side of the Dodgers as we go to the bottom of the 9th. He's trying to bring up his league-leading 23rd save.
The last time we saw the big right-hander from Jamestown, Louisiana, 6'6", 245, he was throwing a lot of breaking balls, a lot of sliders. And the next day in the paper, this was a couple of weeks ago, he had complained about tenderness in his right shoulder. So we will see today how Lee Smith goes at the Dodgers hitters. Will it be with fastballs or breaking balls?
Another change for the Cardinals. Bernard Gilkey has entered the ball game in left field. Gilkey in left, Thompson out. We don't know if that's related to that collision at first base of which Tim was speaking, or if Gilkey is simply a better, significantly better defensive outfielder than Thompson.
Probably a combination of the two.
Dave Hansen will lead off, then Lenny Harris and Mike Scioscia. Hansen's 1 for 2, a single and a walk. He's also struck out. This is one of those borderline saves. Smith did start with a slider. This is one of those save situations that the critics of the save will say, why should he get a save coming into a game like this? 4-1 and only 1 inning pitch.
Another slider. And that, again, is why Lee Smith was throwing a lot of sliders a couple of weeks ago, the last time we saw him here on CBS.
3 in a row. That one's a strike. 1-2 on Hansen.
And that slider probably more indicative of pain in his arm than the other two. If you throw a 2-0 slider with a 3-run lead, strange. Another one.
Mid-90s thrower, but the last couple of times that we have seen him, that is not what he has been. And that's well hit. Another breaking ball, but it's handled in center by Ray Langford. We hope you'll be tuned to CBS tonight for the CBS Saturday movie, Stephen King's Sometimes They Come Back, starring Tim Matheson and Brooke Adams. It's a dramatic thriller based on the Stephen King short story of psychological terror, and it's followed by Jake and the Fat Man. That's tonight on CBS.
Sometimes They Come Back. Is that the story of an interdivisional trade, possibly, coming back to haunt one? Maybe that's where it started in that movie, huh?
Perhaps it is. The Dodgers hope Sometimes They Come Back Part 1 will be shown here at Dodger Stadium this afternoon. They trail by 3 in the bottom of the 9th. Lenny Harris sends it foul. 0-2 the count. 4-1 St. Louis. 1 out of the bases empty in the bottom of the 9th. Cardinals, with a win today, would push their record on this road trip to 7-3. And this is the 3rd time we've seen the Cardinals this year, and the pitching is demonstrating that its performances have been no fluke, and if it continues to be that way on the mound, you have to like these guys and their chances of hanging in there with Pittsburgh the entire way.
Montreal, too. Montreal actually a half a game in front of the Cardinals going into today's play. I think the National League East has proven it is probably the worst division in baseball as far as their overall talent is concerned. Some people call it parity. It's the weakest division in baseball.
Base hit. Lenny Harris, the board with 1 out in the 9th, with the Dodgers down by 3. That's his first hit of the day. It's the 7th Los Angeles hit. They've had a runner on in every inning except the 3rd and the 8th, but they've scored only once. Here's Mike Scioscia, 2 for 3 with a bunt single and a single to left. Smith still not throwing hard, in with a strike to Scioscia.
He has thrown 9 sliders in a row to surmise that his arm's still bothering him.
It looked to be ticketed for center field, but it was a soft line drive, and Jones was able to snare it. The Cardinals are 1 out away from victory.
Mitch Webster, center field.
Mitch Webster trying to keep Los Angeles alive. He came up as a pinch hitter in the 7th and singled to right center. Another slider up and in. In shallow center. Langford's there.